All right. Welcome back to CUSA All Access here live in Studio 2 in the campus of Middle Tennessee State University. Joined alongside Matt Hayden, a.k.a. Baby Gator. And today we've got a special guest with us, filling in for Ryan Martinovich, Mr. Calvin White. Calvin, how are you doing today?
Good, Dylan. It's I don't know. This is a bad open. I'm glad to be on.
That's Matthew McConaughey over there. Okay, get your facts straight,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I was feeling Matthew. I just watched Interstellar last night, so I was feeling Matthew McConaughey.
Good movie.
Good movie. It is. So I think we all kind of know what we want to talk about because there was a football game played here in Murfreesboro last night. So maybe we should talk about it. What did you guys think? Let's just start with that.
The first thing that pops in my head is it's a completely inexcusable loss. You lead, what was it, 23 to
7.
23 to 7 at halftime, and then you give up 38 unanswered in the second half before you score again. And, Jacksonville State, in their first year in FBS, we knew they were going to be, they had a really good defense, but the big question mark was their offense.
Yes.
And we saw the defense on the first two drives, sacked Nicholas Vadiato twice on the first two drives, and it was looking pretty ugly early, but, the offense got going, and Vadiato was able to, throw 2 touchdowns in the first half, and we thought it was going to be a runaway in the second half, and that was
looked that way.
That was not the case.
I am absolutely baffled by how the Blue Raiders lost that game. You have almost 600 yards of offense. Yep. You have almost 40 minutes of possession of ball.
Yep.
And you lose the football game by 15 points. 2 scores. You want to know why?
What?
As much fingers as we point at, Ricky Boy at the helm.
Ricky Boy.
The play on the field was very shocking. They should have just kneeled the ball every time they got it in the second half, and I guarantee you they would have probably won the football game.
Wow.
They turned the ball 4 turnovers in the game. And it's just unreal.
3 of them from your quarterback.
Yes.
Just kneel the ball. Next time you have that big of a lead, never let Vadiato step back and pass the ball. Literally either let him kneel or let Frank run the ball. It's just unacceptable to lose that game. 17 unanswered points in the third quarter, followed by then a 21-point performance by the Gamecocks. And then you finally score a garbage time touchdown to make it a 2-possession game still. Unreal. Changes need to be made. This is unacceptable. If we want to be mediocre, then so be it. Tell the fans that before the season even starts, we're here to be mediocre. But no, it's not fair to the fans. It's not fair to these players. They play their hearts out. And they play with, they play for the team on the front. They don't play for the name on the back, all right? They play for the team on the front. That is why they're here.
Yep.
All right. So when you put out that kind of performance, it is unacceptable. Changes need to be made, and it all starts with the top of the tree, and it all starts with the coaching.
Wow. So obviously we have some frustration between you and Jay Standards over on Sports Ball, and I've heard some rants about MTSU football this week. But here's what I'll say, because I watched the whole game. I was in the press box, as was Calvin, and you obviously watched along as well last night. It was our game to lose. We had it, in the bag. This was our game to lose, and we somehow lost. And I shouldn't say we, because I'm not obviously on the team, but Middle Tennessee had this game in the palm of their hand, right? We're up 23-7 in the second quarter. That should be game over, right? That should be game over. And there was one crucial moment that I remember. It was after that last Elijah Metcalf touchdown. Remember, he did that little stutter step along the sideline. He kind of waltzes into the end zone. Great touchdown. We're in cruise control. And this is a small thing, but Zeke Rankin missing the extra point, and I'm not pinning it on him, but for whatever reason, I don't know if it was a small tinge of doubt in everybody's mind, that wasn't supposed to happen. After that, they were never the same. We had DJ England Chisholm come in with a big shot at a touchdown. This would have been because Vadiato threw a perfect pass to him out there along the sideline. If he scores, it's 30-7, and that game is over. I don't think Jacksonville State, as good as they are, I don't think they're coming back from that. You drop that pass, you give Jacksonville State life, and in the second half, after they come out of the locker room, guess what they did? They adjusted. They adjusted to the game plan. They saw what MTSU was doing, and they exploited what happened in that offense, and unfortunately, Vadiato couldn't read the coverage correctly. Now, I'm not going to blame it entirely on him, although he was a big part of it. As he mentioned last night, sometimes you're going to have those off days, and he threw for over 400 yards, so he was producing offense, but it's those small errors. It's the things that cost you more and more, and it's late defensive errors that we gave up. And I know you talked about this in your sidelines article as well. This late tendency that Middle Tennessee has to just give up points and give up turnovers. And, 28 points off of turnovers. I think that kind of sums it up. Rich Rod looked like he was back at West Virginia last night because he was just – the offense was dialed in. They were running on everybody. And they started off with Logan Smothers, but they ended up with Zion Webb, which I found incredibly interesting. They changed their quarterbacks, and it still worked. And it's not like they had a whole lot of rushing yards. I mean, they had several, but it's only 166. So we outgained them over 150 yards, and we still lost because at the end of the day, we didn't execute. And guys, you know that SEC Shorts skit with Hope, right? Well, we're in despair now. If you're a Middle Tennessee fan, you're in despair because this has just been an incredibly tumultuous few weeks with these losses, and now you sit at the barrel of 1-5. And unless they win out, well, they don't have to win out, but they got to go 5-1 to get a bowl game. It's just a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, and that's what's frustrating is because, everything that had hurt them every game leading into last night, they were doing well in the first half. They kept the penalties down, didn't turn it over. The defense was playing really well, weren't giving up those big plays that they've given up all year. And then it's some sort of combination of MTSU not adjusting at the half, Rich Rod adjusting at the half.
He did.
But after halftime, it was just all systems failure. And it just fell apart. And there's so much talent on the football team. Trey Fluellen at safety is very talented. Jacoby Thomas, very talented. Teldrick Ross, who didn't play last night, had a concussion. He was out. Very talented.
Yep.
But, like you said, when Vadiato's forced to, drop back, throw off his back foot the whole second half, when your quarterback takes the snap and he's immediately having to roll out left or right and run for his life and, kind of throw across his body and stuff like that and then have to throw to guys that aren't open, nothing good is going to happen. The offense was just abysmal in the second half.
So by the time Jacksonville State had that punt to lead off the second half in the third quarter, MT had a 92.7% chance to win the football game.
Was it really 92.7?
92.7.
Oh, my gosh.
According to statistics on ESPN. You had a 92% chance. And then this is how it goes. Interception then leads to a Jackson State touchdown. Punt. And then Jackson State punts, and I think this is where we muff and get a fumble. That leads to a touchdown. Then MT punts again. Then Jack State gets a field goal to take the lead by 1. Then we punt again. Touchdown Jack State. Interception. Touchdown Jack State. Turnover on downs. Punt. Fumble return for a touchdown. Touchdown Jack State there. Missed field goal. And then by the time there was a touchdown from MTSU right after that fumble recovery touchdown. But by then it was game over.
I mean, it was basically game over, like you mentioned, and I do want to bring up this question because you said that you think it's got to start at the top with the changes because I've been, and I think we've all been, we've read over social media. There's a lot of unhappy people in Murfreesboro right now, a lot, and there's fingers being pointed. People are saying it's this guy's fault, it's this guy's fault. If Middle Tennessee is going to be, let's talk long term. If they're going to be a successful program, what has to be done? In your opinion?
Well, I think we're looking at a situation where, because Rick Stockstill is the winningest and losingest coach in the history of Middle Tennessee State football, and it's a situation where he hasn't lost enough to be fired, and he hasn't won enough for someone bigger or someone else to hire him away. So we're MTSU's kind of stuck in that middle situation where it's, he's winning, but he's not winning enough. And he's losing, and he's not losing enough.
Yeah.
Obviously 1-5 doesn't look very good on paper.
No.
But, he's had really good seasons, and he's had really bad seasons, but the average good season has outweighed the bad seasons, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Matt? Let's hear what you got to say about this one, because I know you got some opinions here.
Listen, I get, I'm not expecting us to be, running through everybody like there's no tomorrow. I don't expect us to be, the greatest team on paper. I don't expect much. I just want winning football. And I get it. We aren't a big time school. And I get that. I'm not expecting us to hang our heads in the top 25. But I want to at least be competitive in our own conference. I want to at least look like we actually know what we're doing out there. And I get it. Stockstill's been here for a while. He's, led us to some highs, but has also led us to some lows. And obviously the highs at times outweigh the lows.
Yeah.
But at some time, you can't be stuck in limbo. I'd rather either be super bad or super good. If you're in the middle and you're a collegiate team or a professional team, that is the worst spot in sport to be in, is in the middle, is in limbo. You're not good enough to, fight for even just your conference championship.
Yep.
But you're not bad enough to where people understand this is a bad football team. There are plenty of players on this team that are good. We talked about it on Brett, that Vadiato statistically is up there with Austin Reed and, Caden Salter for Liberty of being a top quarterback in the conference.
Yep, he is.
And 2 of his games have been against SEC opponents.
Yep.
So it's not like the players on the field are bad.
No, it's great talent.
It's great talent.
Yeah.
So you can't obviously there were mistakes. Fumbles hurting you, interceptions hurt you. That's something the players themselves have to fix. That's nothing, you watch film, you see, man, my read here didn't look that great. Probably, that's definitely something I got to take care of. And also, it's just, there's a lot of things that you yourself as a player have to change. But if you want to, our whole mindset here is being average, and that's not good. Was it 2018 last time we beat WKU?
I think so, yeah. It's been 5 years.
2018 lost 5 in a row, lost 8 of the last 9.
Half a decade.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's our big rivalry game. That's our 100 miles of hate. We all gather around as a campus, and that's the one team we want to beat. It's been 5 years since we've done that. You hang your hat on that. It's like looking at, you put into this account, it's the Packers and Bears of CUSA.
Yep.
That's the type of rivalry we have here. All right. And if you are a fan of the Blue Raiders, it's embarrassing. You are embarrassed. You want people to pack that stadium. They don't want to come out and see this. There are plenty of players on this team that can put on a show, and people should go out and see them. I'm not saying we should not go to football games, but changes have to be made, and it all starts with your coaching staff. I get Stockstill has led us to some great times. Like we've always said, we beat Miami in Miami. That's a huge win.
You won't let me hear the end of that one.
That's a huge win. Top 25 team paid us to go down there, and we beat them. We will take that. That's a big win for us. That's in our history books. But at some point, changes have to be made if you want to improve.
I'm going to do my little take on this because I talk to this a lot with other people, and I remember saying this to my mother when I first got to MTSU. I had seen a lot of these videos of college football fans really enjoying the game. And one thing I always wanted to do was storm the field. I wanted to storm the football field. Now, at MTSU, it's a bit different, obviously, because of the situation that we're in as a program right now. And so I worry that dream may not be accomplished in my time left here. Last night, for me, was kind of emblematic of the last 5 years. It's a promising start, right? It's a promising start. Things are looking good. There's a lot of positives to take away. But then at the end, things just kind of get away from you. They just disappear. And all of a sudden, you're left with disappointment and wondering what could have been. And I worry that is partially what's going on with the Middle Tennessee program right now with football. And it's unfortunate. I respect a lot of the people who, not only the players, but the people on the staff who are trying to get the victories. But at the moment, it's not working. It's bad. And last night, it became national because most of the time this is an ESPN Plus, more of a regional thing. Last night, it was on ESPNU for everyone to see. Everybody knows what's going on in Murfreesboro, and everyone saw the glaring issues that Middle Tennessee has. And I guess the question that must be asked is, at what point does it change? At what point is it going to be different? Because is there a breaking point for success and failure? That's the question that we need to answer, and I'm just not sure. I'm not sure where they're going to take this, but I do know this. I think, and I agree with you guys, something's got to be done, or this program is going to go in a negative direction, we'll say.
And what adds insult to injury is they've already played the hardest part of the schedule.
Yeah.
You know, outside of Liberty, there's not really a whole lot of outstanding teams left. And, you know, going into Western Kentucky, if you cut out turnovers and, you know, stupid mistakes, they've at least got a shot to be 3-1 in my mind going into.
They could be 3-1, 4-2. I feel like right now.
Yeah, because you know, if you take away penalties, they have at least a shot to beat Missouri.
Yep.
Should have let Colorado State get away.
Mm-hmm.
And then
another game lost in the second half.
Yeah, and then you get into Western, and Western Kentucky was a tale of two halves too. You know,
Yep.
I mean, not really, but it started to look that way. You know, at Western you have 130 yards of offense at the half.
Yeah.
And then you come out, you get the ball to start the third quarter. You go 15 plays, 75 yards right down the field and score.
Mm-hmm.
You go 3 and out on defense. You get the ball back, march right down the field. Don't pick it up on 4th and 5 from, you know, the Western 4.
Yeah.
And then you never get past the Western 40. And you can't move the ball anymore.
Yep.
And that's what's also the frustrating thing is, you know, anyone that watches the post-game and pre-game press conference is every week it's, you know, we need to do this better. This is what hurt us. But it's that way every week.
Yep.
You know, every week we've heard, you know, you can't have penalties, you can't make those silly mistakes. But when does it change?
Yeah, when's the progression become evident for us to see?
Yeah, until it changes, I think that it's going to be, you know, a bad season is only going to get worse for Middle Tennessee State football.
Talk is cheap. All right, it's a saying as old as time. Talk is cheap. You can say, "Oh, we need to clean up penalties. Oh, we need to clean up on turnovers." Every team, that like, it's not just MT that can use that as an excuse. Any team can use that as an excuse. Oh, I lost a football
Plenty
game.
do.
Oh, I guess I gotta have, you know, penalties I gotta clean up. I gotta clean up I gotta clean up these turnovers. You can say that so many times. Not every game should be that excuse. Because clearly something is not changing. Clearly something is going on behind the scenes. That's you're saying every press conference before and after the game. Is we need to change this. Is we need to change that. We need to work on turnover. Yes, that's a common thing in football. Everybody goes through that. And looking at it, I remember sitting at 0-2. I'm like, you know, Alabama, you're bound to lose. You're going into Bryant Denny. You're bound to get
It's the Lions' Den.
Yeah, you're bound to get the beat down. Then you go into Mizzou and you lose by less than a possession, or less than a touchdown. You lose by 4 points to a SEC team as a Conference USA team. You are riding high. You're like, dang, on the road in Missouri, and we almost came out with a win there.
That's a ranked team right now.
And so you look at it, and I know there's going to be a lot of people that say penalties, you know, some calls should have gone our way. But besides the point, you're 0-2, but you look at it, you're like, dang, obviously Alabama, that's a tough loss. But you saw promise. I think Vadiata had 0 interceptions that game against Alabama.
That's probably the cleanest game they've played all year, turnover-wise.
So you're looking at that, you're like, dang, there's a lot of promise in here. And then you come off, you win your home opener against Murray State, which I get is not a big power team, but it was a solid win. You handled them. Then you come in, you were high on Colorado State, and then the wheels came falling off. And it's not fair for these players, especially those seniors that are playing. This is their last year because we know, like Trey Fluellen, for example, plays with his, you know, heart on his sleeve. He puts 110 effort out there. He wants to be no matter what. You think he wants his last season to be starting off 1-5?
I would imagine not.
Absolutely not. So it's a look in the mirror moment for MTSU if they really want to turn this ship around. They need something to change, and if they drop these next 2 games, it's honestly you're done for. You're done for after that. We play. It's La Tech, Liberty it's at Liberty at New Mexico. FIU and UTEP come here, and then you finish at Sam Houston. The one game there is probably Liberty I'm worried about. Every other game you should win.
Yep.
And, that was the expectation, that this team is still really good on paper. But, the expectation was, this team could be really good, 8-9 wins.
Yeah, I think we heard a lot of people saying we'd be like a 8-9 win team before the season started.
Yeah, I mean, when you're picked to finish third in the preseason poll, and you've already lost to the team that got 18 of the 22 first-place votes, and you've still got to play the team that was picked to finish second.
Mm-hmm.
And, you're falling behind all these other teams that were expected to be bottom feeders of the league. It's not looking too great.
No. And I mean, and I'll go back to it too, because when CUSA shifted, when we saw all these new members come in, there was a lot of talk, and I believe this myself too, because we saw a lot of new members coming into CUSA. A lot of the old members, the so-called Middle Tennessee bullies, I would say, they're gone now. So in theory, you'd think that this is going to be a new era for the conference, and an era where Middle Tennessee, who decided to stay the course, to stay in Conference USA, could come out and be a team that could perform and win championships on a yearly basis. But right now, that ain't looking like it's going to be it, Chief. That doesn't look like it's going to happen. So, I mean, yeah.
1-5 looks bad anyway, but 1-5 in this version of Conference USA is worse in my opinion.
Oh, yes,
because,
absolutely.
There's no UAB that destroyed MTSU last year. There's no UTSA who was a ranked team last year. They've got, one of the best mid-major for sure, but probably one of the best quarterbacks in terms of production in 100%. The country in Frank Harris.
Yep.
And, just to be disappointing this bad in this version of the league is worse than it would have been if there was no realignment.
It's a tricky situation right now in Murfreesboro, and I know a lot of Middle Tennessee fans are calling for change, and it's going to be a wait-and-see approach. I think that we'll know the full story at the end of the season, and I am curious, if Middle Tennessee finds a way to win out and make a bowl game, will the sins of this early season be forgiven?
No.
I don't think they should be.
No.
But I wonder if they will be in the eyes of certain others. That's the question.
In our eyes, it shouldn't be.
Right.
But in the people in charge, I guarantee it's not. No changes will be made. Because look, you'll be like, oh, but look, we turned our season around. We made a bowl game. Congrats. Like, you can't, no one watches, what is it, the Popeyes Chicken Bowl, or was it one year?
The Popeyes.
Yeah. And that's the story most years, it's just like last year, like you said, you beat Miami, who is one of the most storied programs in the history of college football. You beat them by, 15 or 20 or whatever it was in their own stadium.
Put up 45 on them, too.
And then you lose 3 in a row after you beat them.
Yep.
And you still end up 8-5, go and win a bowl game.
Uh-huh.
But it's like, when you beat a team that is as storied as Miami and is as good as Miami is in terms of, a team like MTSU playing Miami.
Yep.
When you beat Miami as bad as they did, and you show the things that you can do, and then you go and underperform against less talented teams, it just doesn't make sense. And it's, in my opinion, it makes it harder to pinpoint the problem.
It makes it hard. And again, like you said, you'd think after a historical win like that, because the next game had all sorts of hype around it, because it was UTSA, the defending CUSA champions. It's blackout night, and Kevin Byard's jersey was getting retired. Mike Keith was there. It was a massive game, and yet they went out and lost. And while they played well, it kind of highlights the same problems we're seeing now. There's these positive moments. There's beating Miami. There's almost beating Missouri. But we can't capitalize on those, and it comes back to bite us. And that's the issue. Can MTSU become the program that we all want them to be? Will they choose that path, and will they be more aggressive, both overall on the staff and in the direction of the program? That's the question we're going to wait and see on. And who knows, maybe this current iteration, this current regime can turn things around, but it's looking like for a lot of people, I think that they would agree that there needs to be some change. But I think that, honestly, this is making us all upset. We're all a little sad. So maybe we need a pick-me-up. Maybe we need something else to talk about because I don't want to make this a depressing episode. So, guys, is there anything joyous to talk about in Conference USA?
Well, before we move on, Dylan, I want to remind the Rick Stockstill haters that MTSU could lose every game the rest of the season, and there's still 5 years left on his contract.
Ooh.
Think about that one, Rick Stockstill haters.
Oh, boy. Well, that's going to be one to think about for a while. I see Matt is already groaning over there as we speak. So, yeah, think about all of that in the future. Matt certainly will be. But, moving on from that, I do think
You're welcome,
that...
Matthew.
Yeah,
Thanks, Calvin. I appreciate it. I'm just so glad I can go to bed at night knowing that no matter how many games we lose, there's still 5 more years of it. Oh, my goodness. I am so ready.
Look at that smile.
That's my football coach.
Right there.
I'm glad.
Matt,
Rick Stockstill's my football coach.
Matt, I want to throw it to you because you went to the softball game the other night. Tell me about that and tell me about what you think of MTSU right now because they look pretty good, right?
Absolutely. Change of pace. I'm so glad. I absolutely am so ready for this season of softball. Now, you do lose a huge, man, it's going to be a hole to fill with Laura Mueller's bat.
Yeah.
Laura Mueller's bat, glove, speed on the base pass, all around. Was a 5-tool player. It's going to be hard
The
to fill.
explosiveness she brought.
It's going to be hard to fill those shoes. But I feel like this team has something special. You have so many players on this team that can fill those shoes. You have so many returning players that just you feel are going to be able to turn it around. Ainsley Blevins, Savannah B. Habits, Ava Tepe still behind the dish, manning, the pitchers. Julia Garcia manning the hot corner. You have so many players still returning to this team. This team is still basically the same team that won the CUSA tournament and then also took Alabama to an elimination game. So you got to look at it as, yes, we did lose a big player. But we've seen plenty of times on any level, sometimes losing your best player at times, it's a blessing in disguise.
Addition by subtraction.
So you look at it at sometimes you're just thinking, man, we lost one of the best players in the conference. It's going to happen. Good players are going to go to. Not everyone stays.
Yep.
There's nothing against Mueller. I am a fan of hers no matter where she goes, even if she's not repping MTSU. She is a great ball player and a great person off the field. So there's nothing against her. She did what was better for her career, but this MTSU Blue Raider team still has plenty of weapons to use. And especially with Gretchen Mead still being on the team as a coach. I feel like it's going to be huge help for these young pitchers that are going to be able to turn it around. You still have Cameron Karsich leading, who was arguably probably one of the best pitchers in the conference as well,
100%.
alongside Gretchen Mead. Carrie Munn, I saw a very high performance level there against Vol State in the first exhibition. She was looking miraculous out there. It was a great sight to see. And then you also have Mary Martinez, who's also filling in as well, a new transfer coming in there. So this team still has a lot of talent. And I still think they are going to be up there with the top talent in the CUSA, especially with North Texas no longer being, in the conference. That was like their big, that was the team they played. And it's just, this team is still good.
Yeah.
This team is still, I fully, I'm full in on this team, no matter how much talent they seem to have lost on paper.
They've got a good freshman in there that you were raving about too, right?
Yeah, I think Mary Martinez is actually a sophomore. She's a
sophomore. Gotcha.
So, yeah, but I think she's going to be really good. She's still super young, so still is going to be on this staff for a good bit there. But your cornerstones, you got to look. Ainsley Blevins is only a sophomore. Ava Tepe is a junior, so she still has 2 more years. Karsich, who's a senior, can definitely teach, give the reins on to Carrie Munn. Carrie Munn can then pass it on to, Mary Martinez if that's how the order falls. So you still have a lot of talent on this team of both good balance of young and old and graduating students coming up.
Yeah.
So I think this team has a lot of promise, and I would be high on them to be back in the conference championship near the summertime.
It's just refreshing to watch a softball team that can actually score runs. 2 years ago when they won, 13 or 14 games, whatever it was, it's not often you saw Lady Raider softball score more than, 2 or 3 runs in a game.
Yeah.
Jeff Breeden hit the transfer portal hard last year, got some bats to fill out that lineup. They don't hit a lot of home runs, but it's that old, like Oakland A's Moneyball thing, just kind of keep the line moving. Play small ball, just bloop singles, stolen bases. There's speed everywhere. I'd be surprised if Blue Raider softball wasn't at the top of the preseason conference predictions.
I mean, and especially because Jeff Breeden did a fantastic job last year of hitting that transfer portal, getting the new talent, and he's gotten better at recruiting as well. I think more players are buying in because last year, in reality, I don't think any of us really expected it to happen. As good as they were, I think that a lot of us looked at them. They were a 6th seed going into this tournament, and as good as they looked in the regular season, there was a lot of doubt going into it. But they proved everybody wrong, went out and won themselves a CUSA championship, and beat Conference USA at a time where there were a lot of good teams in the midst. And there still are, but at that point, it was really loaded. You had Charlotte, you had North Texas, Western Kentucky, still around, but they were good last year as well. I actually looked at it. The top 4 teams from CUSA last year in the standings are all gone. They're not here anymore. So, in theory, like you guys had mentioned, Middle Tennessee in this new CUSA should have a much easier time at getting to that Conference USA tournament and winning the championship because there's just not as many teams to contend against them. And Julia Garcia, 2-run double and a 2-run single in those 2 games against Lipscomb and Vol State. So she's looking better and better each week. It seems like the players are getting developed. Shelby Sargent, Anthony Blevins, looking really, really good right now, looking like players who are going to be big to this system. And the new pitcher as well in Jessen Espinal looked really solid. So I think that right now Middle Tennessee is getting the talent, they have a system, and it's working. Their biggest competition to me is probably going to be Western Kentucky just because of how they were able to challenge them last year, but Middle Tennessee was able to beat the Hilltoppers at home. I was actually on the call for that game. I remember that there is one good player in Faith Hegg who Middle Tennessee will have to make sure to cover for, but I think the Raiders can get the job done. It's going to be a fun race, honestly, CUSA softball, and the Raiders should be right up there at the top of that pack.
And I think that even if they fall, or if not fall, but if they don't live up to those expectations, just like last year, they won the conference championship as a 6th seed.
Yeah.
And for a long time, softball was one of the worst performing sports on MTSU's campus.
Exactly.
And, the last time they won the conference championship in 2018, I believe it was, won it as a 6th seed again. So even if they don't live up to those expectations, they have shown that they can, get hot and go on a run and be productive and maybe get back to that regional.
And that was the thing. Last year, they won their first game against La Tech and then lost to North Texas.
Yes.
2-1. And that they dropped them all the way down to the losers bracket. And then they battled back. They handled WKU the next day. And then looked at Florida Atlantic, who had arguably one of the best pitchers in Gabby Sacco in the country as well.
Yep.
On their team. 4-1 there. And then you move on to, they played another game right after. This is the number 1 seed Charlotte at the time.
Yep.
6-5 win there. And then you go on and in a do or die game, this is going to make or break your season. This is what pushed them ahead into the tournament here, was this 3-2 win against North Texas. Now, I know there was a lot of controversy of the play at the plate.
There was a little.
In the end of the game.
Just a little.
But at the end of the day, they played the game. It wasn't like MT was the one that made the call. It was the umpire's call. The biggest thing you learn growing up playing baseball, playing softball, playing any sport, whatever the call is on the field and whatever is confirmed by the umpires or the referees, that is a call. As much as fans want to disagree about the calls, the call on the field will stand. I'm
Always.
sorry for you. Yeah. It's how it goes. But MT, then everyone's like, oh, they're going to get swept by Alabama. Oh, they're not even going to stand a chance, in Tuscaloosa. Are you kidding me? You took Alabama, who had Montana Fouts lingering in the shadows. Now, she didn't pitch, though, but you still went.
Her presence being there, though.
You went into Tuscaloosa, pushed them to elimination in front of their home fans.
Yep.
You were 1 game away, and you almost came around with a victory there.
1 inning away.
Well,
yeah, 1 inning away.
And so
yep.
you look at it, and that team played with a ton of heart. They played with a ton of passion, and this team this year is pretty much the same team. And I don't see why not. Like you said, all top of the teams that were in the conference last year are now gone. It is their conference to win. It's their conference to lose as well. They still have to perform on the field as much as the game isn't played on paper. You have to perform on the field, and it's going to take a lot of heart and a lot of fight to still, execute. And to piggyback really quick, Espinal was the freshman pitcher who's also looked pretty good to start out her MTSU career in this exhibition. And they have a full week of exhibitions that we can look forward to this week at home as well. So again, what talent does this team have on the field, and what do we have in store later on in the season?
I mean, it's heating up. It's going to be a fun race, all things considered. I think I agree with what you said for those who are in Murfreesboro, and come out to the ballpark, come out to the Blue Raiders softball field.
Lots of action.
As you know, there's a lot of fun times to be had there.
Yeah, there's softball going on, and if you want to go on to the other side of campus, you also have women's volleyball is going on. They're starting to heat up, with the interconference. They took down, ranked 25 Auburn at their invitational for women's volleyball. So
they did.
Lots of action going on MTSU's campus this weekend. So come on down to Murfreesboro. There's going to be lots of sports for everybody.
And on Sunday, of course, you got Middle Tennessee soccer taking on Sam Houston as well. Lots of stuff happening in the borough right now. So going to be a fun weekend for all MTSU sports. And I do want to ask, are you guys going to be at any of the games this weekend?
Volleyball for sure.
Volleyball for sure.
Volleyball is really exciting right now.
I'll be on the call Saturday with Ryan Martinovich.
That's right.
For ESPN Plus for that game against Sam Houston. And I always am trying to – I think also women's tennis has an invitational for MTSU.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot
they
about
also
that.
have that as well.
Yep.
So there's a lot of obviously, I would love to come out and catch some more softball. Softball is my bread and butter. I absolutely love, it's been a sport. I grew up playing baseball, then I went on to coach, there. So it's – I always have
professional right here.
I always have a heart, for baseball, softball. A lot of love there, but anything MTSU related, I'm always trying to dabble in on. I always try to make it a priority to catch at least one game or multiple games for every sport.
I mean, those are some pretty good buildings, I would say. Some pretty good buildings because
Alumni Memorial.
Before we go on, I know you were talking about your favorite building today. So I know this is a little off topic, but just tell them your story.
Listen. There's a lot of great buildings in the world, right? You look around, you have your Eiffel Tower, you have your Big Ben, you have the Colosseum, but what do none of those countries have? And none of them have a big pyramid for a Bass Pro Shop like we do in Memphis, Tennessee. Now let me tell you why. That. It's one of a kind. Where else do you find one? That's right. Nowhere. It's just solely here in Tennessee. But you know what I put really close to it? The Murphy Center. Shout out to the Murphy Center.
Yes.
Another beautiful building. Very electric. I mean,
absolutely.
That stadium gets pretty loud, especially when you take down a ranked opponent with in Louisville in women's basketball with Haley is it Van Ness?
Haley Van Lith.
Yeah, there
Van
it is.
Lith, yeah,
She transferred on over to LSU because she was tired of losing to MTSU at Louisville. So
the Murphy Center is the eighth wonder of the world.
Oh, 100%.
Exactly.
100%. I mean, you're looking at a place where magic happens. It's more magical than Disneyland, guys, because you mentioned Louisville. We beat Louisville last year. We beat Florida Atlantic. We were the last loss they had before they made it all the way to the Final Four. Mm-hmm. So we sent them out of CUSA with a loss. Well, I mean, they beat us in the tournament, but, we...
No one asked about that.
No one talks about that. So,
come on now.
Showing a lot of
should have won
favoritism.
that game as well.
Yeah. We should have.
They were just ridiculous,
Middle
man.
Tennessee should have won that
FAU
game.
is ridiculous.
I got to stop saying we. This is CUSA All Access. Sorry.
When they see the Blue Raiders behind us,
yes,
they know we're going to show favoritism towards the Blue
That
Raiders.
is true. That is true. We're going to show a little favoritism towards MTSU. But we promise everybody else is included. And you know what?
I haven't put my red on. I put red on today.
Yeah, I mean...
That's a dangerous color around here.
Until we beat Western Kentucky in football, I'm allowed to wear red.
You're going to wear red every day.
I'm allowed to wear
Western
it.
Kentucky.
You're going to be wearing red for a long time.
My dad actually, he has a Western Kentucky shirt.
Until Richard Wilson Stockstill trots a football team onto the field that beats the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers, I will wear my red shirt.
When do you graduate?
May.
Wow.
So I will wear my red until May.
Good luck.
All right. We'll see how all this goes down. I'm gonna shifting gears. I guess we'll go ahead and shift gears. Do Do you guys know? We talked a little bit about the football, the Middle Tennessee soccer. I'm a little bit biased towards that. I will be on the call Sunday for Middle Tennessee versus Sam Houston right here in Murfreesboro. ESPN Plus, tune in. Going to have the big truck out there for Media Arts. Going to be a great production. Tune in if you're available. But I don't know if you guys saw, but the Raiders, they put 8 goals on Chicago State. And I'm going to give you a little bit of history about this because this was a big one. Let me get my notes out here so I don't undersell the gloriousness of this moment.
Because I've shameless broadcast plug
a little
before
shameless
you start.
broadcast plug. Yes, Hey, watch Matt too. He's going to be going on this weekend on Saturday with volleyball. So tune in both days, 6 p.m. for his, 1 p.m. for mine. So Middle Tennessee with Chicago State, 7 goals in the first half. Yes, zoom in on his face. Look at that face. Look at Matt's face. There you go.
7 goals in the first half?
This is the first time you're hearing about this, isn't it? Yeah.
I knew, I was like, oh, we beat Chicago State. I didn't look at this. I didn't look at it. I was like, 8-0. Dang. But 7 in the first half?
They put 7 goals on them in the first half.
My God.
Yes. They destroyed Chicago State. This was the first time they'd ever played. And it was over before it even began. I mean, poor Chicago State. I feel for them because they're D1 independent. They're looking to fill out their schedule, and they come here, and they're playing a Middle Tennessee team that was already a little angry. They were a little, they were fussy because they had lost a few matches, and they were ready to prove something. And they went out and proved something. But I think it was almost an expulsion of the frustration they've been feeling. They just took them out. 7 goals in the first half, and Faith Ajay, first hat trick for Middle Tennessee since 2019. Pretty impressive. You do not see 3 goals in a match very often. Manon Labarge had her brace had a brace. Didn't have an actual brace
got 2
on.
goals.
Yeah, she got 2 goals. Yeah.
She must be half like robot, and maybe it's like she's going to transfer now into a robot.
Well, I did ask after one of her goals, was she even real? You guys will have to come back and watch that clip. But I say, Manon Labarge, are you real? And that's kind of what happened. So, anyway. That's a funny coincidence there.
Shameless plug number 2.
I gotta stop with the
Come on,
shameless
Calvin,
plug.
plug yourself.
Shameless
Dude.
plug.
Yeah, you go ahead and plug yourself. Yeah.
You can find my 500-word story I wrote about the fiasco last night on the football field at mtsusidelines.com. I'm not sure if you want to read that though.
So if I count the words, it's going to be 500 exactly.
No, but
no.
I would be more concerned
false
if you
advertisement.
I would be more concerned if you went through and counted the words.
Maybe I get bored. I just want to.
Chief Sports Guy over at MTSU Sidelines, by the way. Take a look at the website. Great content. Awesome stuff. Sidelines is the one-stop shop when it comes to print stuff here at MTSU, getting all the latest factoids and latest scoops on MTSU sports. So keep an eye on Sidelines as well as MTN Sports here. So we talked a little about Middle
Shameless
Tennessee.
Plug number 3.
Yeah, man.
We need a counter.
Is
in
this
the
an
back.
advertisement?
It's appreciated, dude.
We need
By golly.
a counter in the back.
We need a counter. Anyone got a shameless plug counter? Because we're
up to 3. I'll be
we're
the
up
counter.
to 3. Yeah, you can.
I'll
be
be
the
our
counter.
counter.
Yeah. So Middle Tennessee going to be taking on Sam Houston on Sunday after that dominant performance, 8-0. Historic stuff there. Sam Houston, a team that I've done a little bit of research on. They're currently 4th in the CUSA standings, 2-2 in conference, 4-5-2 overall. So they're going to be a pretty solid matchup for Middle Tennessee. Right now they're 0-3 in the conference, but this could be a chance to get a big match. First time ever actually that they've played too. So it's going to be a historic day at Dean A. Hayes Track and Soccer Stadium. And I want to touch on that because that's going to be a big one. But before we get any further on with the show, I do want to touch on this story as well because New Mexico State defeated the longest undefeated streak in the nation the other day. Did you guys know about this?
I did not. Who did they beat?
Tell us, Dylan.
They beat the Liberty Flames. They were 11-0 coming into this match, and they were, let me make sure I get this right, 20-0-3 going into their match against New Mexico State. Aggies took them out. So New Mexico State, 7-5-1, 4-0 in conference, looking really good right now. And you got FIU at 2-0-1 in conference, Liberty 2-1 in conference. The CUSA Soccer, I know it's kind of flown under the radar. It's going to be really interesting. Like you guys should take a look at how this is all going to shake out because this last push is going to be, it's not going to be MLB October baseball maybe to some, but it's going to be some good stuff.
Yeah, and soccer, like softball, is one of those teams that hasn't necessarily performed the last couple of seasons. So anytime you see anything positive out of soccer, it catches people's eyes, and it gets people out to the stadium, gets people watching MTSU soccer, because like I said, for a while they were bad.
Last year was tough, and they've doubled their win total this year already.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
I mean, it's
baby steps, Calvin.
Baby
Baby
steps.
sign of progress.
Baby
though.
steps.
Well, I mean, it's just like, you're going to have the only way up once you reach rock bottom is once you reach rock bottom, the only way to go is up. But I'm looking at all of them are in conference. You have Sam Houston, UTEP, La Tech, Jack State, and FIU. The two matches I see there, just based off of what I've seen, is FIU and Sam Houston are going to be a little bit tough for them.
Yes.
As they both have, been pretty solid in conference play. But you think UTEP 0-3-1 in conference play. La Tech 0-2-2 in conference play. Jack State 1-1-2 in conference play.
Yep.
So you're thinking of it, you went out, and this is, again, you're open for the highest of highs. You're 5-3 in conference play. So you went out here, you could potentially see you want to ride that momentum going into the championship that's at the start of November. You want to get that turnaround, and you want to get hot at the right time, because that's when it doesn't matter how hot you are at the beginning. It's like we've seen with the Phillies last year. They got hot. They were really bad at the beginning of the MLB season. Fired their manager. It looked like a absolute dumpster fire.
The bane of all Braves fans around here, by the way, the Phillies.
Then they turned it around. They swept the Cardinals in the wild card. They beat the Braves. They beat the Padres, and then went all the way to the World Series where they took it to 6 games. So it's when you get hot at the right time, and this is the perfect time for MT to be able to turn the ship around. You get these wins under your belt. Say you get the 5 wins, you're finishing at 9-7-2. All right, you're finishing at 5-3 in the conference, so you are riding high, and you could potentially, like we've been talking about, softball was the 6th seed. You don't always have to be the number 1 seed to win the tournament. That's why everyone is at the dance. It's just who gets hot at the right time, and if it's MT, they could clean house. But again, there's going to be a lot of challenges. You're going to have Liberty at the end of that battle. You're going to have New Mexico State at the end of that battle. So you have to play hard and really find the momentum here in these last remaining Conference USA games.
And the good thing is they've played a lot of the toughest opponents in the conference already. They've already played New Mexico State. They've already played Liberty. And their only other loss, if I'm not mistaken, is to Western Kentucky, who is 1-0-2 in conference. They don't have a loss in conference. So the door is wide open, as you mentioned, for Middle Tennessee to find a way through. So this soccer match on Sunday, it's going to be pretty impressive. The volleyball match on Sunday, it's going to be great for Middle Tennessee. Going to be a fun one to watch. But before we go, because I know we've talked a lot tonight, we've had a lot to say. Of course, that opening segment was, we had to get some emotions out here as MTSU folks. But guys, any final thoughts before we wrap up another awesome episode?
Calvin, since you're the guest, I'll let you go first.
Shameless plug number 4. It's been an exciting week of MTSU sports, and even though some of the teams might not be as good as we would like, it's still fun to go watch sports, because that's what we do. That's our lives. That's what we're trying to get a career in, is sports. So
that's right.
Anytime that we can go out and watch some sports, especially for free, it's a good day in my mind.
The power of the Blue ID. Really quick, I want to make a quick audible. If I can get the camera, thank you so much. I want to look in the camera and tell this. Yes, I am hard on our teams. Yes, I want to expect the best out of everybody on our team. I want the best out of anybody, because that's how I was raised. I was raised, whatever I do, I want to do it the best.
He's built different.
And as for our sports,
he is him.
I want the same thing. If I put in the effort, the time, and the passion to cheer, to represent this team with merchandise and all this, and to give them, the air to, broadcast their talent, I want the best talent on the field. I want the best product on the field. And so while, yes, I am hard, I will always be true blue. No matter how far away I've graduated, I will always be a Blue Raider. No matter what, no matter how bad, if we go winless or if we win out, we will always be true blue in my eyes, and I will always represent this school with pride. That is my final saying, and I am so ready for more sports to come, because I'm so ready for it. Let's get it going.
Amen to that. Can't argue with that point, Mr. Baby Gator. Thank you for that. And before we go, thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. It's been another awesome episode, a Thursday edition, as you can tell. It might be coming out on Friday. I'm not sure when exactly it's going to air, but you'll see it at some point. So thank you all so much for watching. Another great week, and once again, thanks Calvin for coming in today. Going to probably have him back in the future. He's been a great guest today and knows a lot about MTSU. Make sure to check him out. Make sure to check out Baby Gator on the call Saturday for MTSU volleyball, along with our very own Ryan Martinovich, and I'll be on the call for MTSU soccer. There's all your shameless plugs out of the way. So that's going to do it for today. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. This has been CUSA All Access for Calvin White and our man Baby Gator. I'm Dylan Simmons saying so long, and remember to always have an electric night.